let's move on from the drama slop tuber to the real drama that is taking place currently inside of the halls of Congress within the caucus of the Democratic Party. Because as you guys know, there is a continuing resolution bill that is supposed to fund the federal government. Okay? There's a continuing resolution bill that's supposed to be funding the federal government, and the Republicans have whipped up votes for it and passed through the House, and it actually landed in the Senate. Now, in the Senate, the Republican Party needs 60 votes to have a filibuster-proof majority. But because the Democrats initially had claimed that they were not going to vote for this, and they were not going to vote for cloture, that this bill was not going to be able to avoid a filibuster. It was not going to pass. And then if the bill didn't pass, then there could be a potential shutdown of the federal government. If there was a shutdown of the federal government, obviously the Republican Party would have to come back to the table and negotiate with the Democrats. This is what the minority party does. The minority party, historically, will always use the filibuster and also will always use the continuing resolution and budget bills specifically to stop the Republican Party from, or the majority party, whichever it is, from advancing their dangerous agendas. So this is super basic, bare minimum politics, okay? Super basic, bare minimum politics. The minority party is supposed to use any and every advantage that they have, any and every instance that they have where they have a seat at the table, where they have a voice in the process, to stop the most dangerous aspects, the most nefarious aspects of the agenda of the administration. And the Democrats said that they were going to do this in the Senate. The Democrats, as a majority with the exception of one person, the Democrats in the House all voted against this bill. Now, you might say it's because they were powerless, because the House was going to pass, the House of Representatives was going to pass this bill, whether or not any Democrats said yes or no. So many of them could stand courageously and vote against it. But the reality is there are plenty of Democrats, even in Trump districts, that won Trump districts, that have re-elections coming up in the House of Representatives, that also unironically voted against this. The reason why they did so is because they, at least, it seems to me, understood the assignment a little bit better than the likes of Chuck Schumer and Kirsten Gillibrand and numerous other high-profile Democrats in the Senate who are terrified of a government shutdown and its potential implications for the market. Okay? There's a list of senators out there on the Democratic Party. We still don't know who's going to go which way. Okay? Some of them have come out and spoke on this. We have John Fetterman saying yes on cloture, Schumer saying yes on cloture, likely yes with Kirsten Gillibrand. And there's obviously a bunch in the problem solvers, Blue Dog Democrat caucus, with the likes of even Dick Durbin, Maggie Hasan, Shaheen, and numerous others that are possibly on the yes category, and you have the open nose on cloture. So what they currently need, I think I've described the process so far, right? You guys understand the process, right? You understand what's going on. It's not confusing, I hope. I'm trying to do my very best here to explain to you this process, because this is very boring procedural that is happening, okay? This is very boring procedural Yeah, Catherine Cortez Masto from Nevada is a yes. I'm going to repeat this one more time, okay? The continuing resolution bill is a way to fund the federal government, okay? It happens multiple times throughout the administration, and it needs to pass the Senate. It needs to pass the Senate with a 60 vote filibuster-proof majority. Republicans currently do not have 60 votes. So the Democrats could just say, we are going to filibuster. Filibuster is a process in the Senate where you can stop a bill from passing through And in the past, technically, the way that you were supposed to do it is by actively standing and talking and holding space, basically, in an effort to not allow this bill to continue. But because of our gerontocracy and the fact that everyone is 855 years old, nowadays you just say you're going to filibuster and you say you're not going to vote for a cloture, and therefore it's effectively considered dead in the water. Okay? Back in the day, people used to do it. There's a famous clip of Bernie Sanders trying to do a filibuster where he talks for hours and hours and hours. I think it was Ted Cruz once that read a children's book. Okay, that's how it works. That's what a filibuster is. For those of you who don't know, that's what a filibuster is in the Senate. People have wanted to abolish the filibuster. I was an advocate to abolish the filibuster. Ironically enough, a lot of Democrats said, don't abolish the filibuster because we will use it, except they don't use it. Now Chuck Schumer is saying he doesn't want to use it. The Senate tradition of unlimited debate has allowed for the use of the filibuster, a loosely defined term for action designed to prolong debate and delay or prevent a vote on a bill, resolution, amendment, or other debatable question. That's what a filibuster is. And the only way to stop a filibuster is by voting for a cloture, which is a supermajority vote. Does that make sense? Do you guys understand what's going on now? Is that informative? I hope. Chuck Schumer is the minority leader in the Senate. He's the leader of the Democratic Party in the Senate. And he has, after saying that he was going to not push this bill through, he turned around and basically said, actually, we are going to pass this. If you want to vote yes on this, if you want to vote for yes on the cloture, then you can. So there's two different ways here. You can either say you are going to filibuster, you can say that you're just not going to let this pass, and then the bill is dead in the water, and therefore there's no cloture vote, and therefore the bill can't pass, and therefore the government can't actually fund itself, and therefore the government goes into a shutdown, and that is entirely in the hands now of the Republican administration. That's what is supposed to happen. That's what Chuck Schumer said he was going to happen. Okay? Now, the problem here is twofold. If the Democrats pass this supposedly clean continued resolution, a clean continued resolution, for those of you who don't know, is a continuing resolution that basically has the same standard of spending from the previous, the previously ordained, previously assigned expenditure bills, right? This is not a clean one, though, because it actually has a bunch of funding taken out of it, a bunch of funding for federal agencies taken out of this bill. The Republicans are using this as an opportunity to advance their agenda of dismantling the federal government. So ironically enough, the situation here is win-win for the Republicans if they want to destroy the federal government. If the bill goes through, they get to continue undermining the federal government through the funding apparatus, and now Congress has basically given them the opportunity to do so. If they actually don't do this and they can't pass the continuing resolution, then if they can't pass it, then the government goes into shutdown, and effectively during that shutdown, they can take advantage of that and only keep certain government offices open. This is the argument that Chuck Schumer tried to falsely present as a damned if you do, damned if you don't, which is why we're voting for it. A lot of people, including unions that are responsible for federal agents and federal government employees, have been demanding that the Democrats actually force a shutdown, because a shutdown would still be in the hands of the Trump administration. It would undermine the Trump administration's agenda, and they would inevitably have to go back to the negotiations process and negotiate with the Democrats, and Democrats can get some assurances in this process. So basically turning around and saying, no, we're going to go forward with this continued resolution, even though we hate it, even though we hate this continued resolution, we're going to go forward with this, is only making you look weak and not even allowing you to fight against the awful ways in which the Trump administration is going to make cuts permanent to the federal government. Yesterday, Trump was asked if he was willing to negotiate with the Democrats, and he said yes, and they caved without asking for anything. Yes, today Trump came out and congratulated Chuck Schumer. Democrats, on the other hand, and not just people like myself, not just radical people like myself. I'm talking centrist Democrats are losing their minds right now. Centrist Democratic politicians are losing their minds. Centrist neoliberals who are famously dick riders of the Democratic Party are losing their minds. They're all finally seeing it in the way that I've been seeing it and yelling about for years. Do you understand? Because they recognize the writing on the wall and they know that this is an unacceptable way to allow the Trump administration to continue along with their agenda. The House is almost entirely united on this. The House Democratic Party and the House of Representatives almost entirely united on this. It is a select number of centrist Democratic senators who are not abiding by the Democratic wishes to resist against the Trump administration's nefarious agenda. Okay? It is crazy. The audience, the base of support, wants Chuck Schumer to fight back. Most Democrats, politicians want Chuck Schumer to fight back, and they have fought back. And yet, it is currently in the hands of a couple people. Because that's all it takes. All it takes is like, what, 7 votes for them to get at least a vote on cloture and then therefore get a majority vote from the Republican Party and basically continue with funding the government and averting a government shutdown. So there's 2 votes here, one for cloture and one for the actual bill. Democrats think that if they vote no on the actual bill but vote yes on cloture, that they can get away with saying, well, we tried to resist, but actually what's happening here is, they still had the votes. What can we do? It is a cowardly procedural way to get out of it. A vote for cloture in this process is basically a yes vote. It does not matter. And everybody, all the losers such as ourselves who follow politics fairly closely understand that reality. We all understand what the fuck is going on. And to the average person who doesn't pay a lot of attention to what the fuck is going on, they still see the Democrats as basically caving. They don't know about the process between cloture and cloture votes and yay votes or nay votes. They basically see it as the Democrats caving without putting up a single fight against the Trump administration. And those people are right. Okay? Anyone who thinks that there is a reason for this is absolutely out of their minds, okay? I've talked to the Podjons privately about this. I've talked to other prominent liberals about this. I've read prominent liberals and their opinions on this. There's like 4 people that still think this is adequate. There's 4 people that think that this is the appropriate thing to do. Most people, including centrists, are completely on board with, fighting against the Republican Party. And the only reason why I think they're doing that, the Dems are caving on this, is, I suspect, because they do not want more market volatility. That's what I think. I think they're worried about market volatility at a time when the markets are already deep red. And I think that they're throwing away what remains of their base of support because they just don't want to. They lost Olivia Giuliana. They lost Olivia Giuliana. It's over. It's Jover. When Olivia Giuliana is on Chuck Schumer for not fighting, it's over. When you lose Nate Silver, Olivia Giuliana, Neera Tanden, okay, these are people who literally get paid to defend the Democratic Party, or they will defend the Democratic Party because they demonstrate ideological zealotry towards third-way neoliberalism. The people that, no matter what, will defend. Will Stancil. I saw a funny tweet about this from Adam Kinzinger, who is literally a Republican, okay? A proud rhino, if you will. Felix had a very funny take on this. He was replying to Ed Ingermentum here, which I thought was pretty funny. Let me find it real quick. Hold on. Yeah, here it is. So Adam Kinzinger, who is a Republican, okay? Adam Kinzinger, who's a Republican who's constantly urging the Democrats to be more war hawks, more hawkish, a invented television personality that does not represent a real base, a real constituency for the Democrats at all. He is just an invented television personality. That's the only thing he is. And his entire purpose is to basically say the Democrats need to be more conciliatory to the Republicans, and that's how they win the supposed moderates, right? Like, that's his entire goal. And even he's saying, so let me get this straight. Gavin Newsom, desperate to platform MAGA. Chuck Schumer's de facto supporting the the continuing resolution. What's the point of an opposition party again? To which Felix replied, any ostensibly left or center party can actively recruit one-time adversaries from their right in an extremely tedious display that moves 0 voters. That's the base. That is the reason as to why Adam Kinzinger is a Democrat, right? But only true masters can misread things so badly that those same conservatives go, can you guys please lib out more? It's official. We're now at a place where the Democratic Party is so uninterested in fighting back against the Republicans that their own rhinos, their own people that are supposed to be the goal that they are supposed to occupy within the Democratic media infrastructure is to tell them that they can't be radical, to tell them that they have to be, more conservative to win over this like fake majority of supposed moderates out there, even though these guys have no constituency whatsoever. Even those guys are like, dude, what the are you doing? Be a little bit more radical, please. That is crazy to me. That is crazy. Oh my God. And yeah, there's more. You have, the member said that Democrats in Leesburg were so mad that even centrist Democrats were ready to write checks for AOC for Senate, adding that they have never seen people so mad. I think at this stage, the anger and resentment is not because these people are card-carrying commies. They're certainly not. They want to maintain neoliberalism foolishly and with a lot of naivete, or because it benefits their pockets, right? There are voters, petite bourgeois voters, small business owners, people that work for the State Department, yada, 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 that want to continue to a certain degree, maybe expanding marginally the social safety nets while simultaneously continuing the previous the previous Democratic regime, the neoliberal regime. Even those guys understand what Trump is doing is psychotic, and they want the Dems to fight back. This current situation in front of us and the anger and resentment that people feel towards Chuck Schumer has nothing to do with ideological conviction. Many of these people who are seemingly on our side, speaking like me, okay? Think about it. I've never heard Will Stancil or Neera Tanden or any number of these different liberal commentators. I've never heard them talk the way I talk about the Democratic Party. They're basically about to do the classic Hasan whisper rant post DNC last night of the DNC, where I was like, you want to Republicans, you want to be Republicans, you want to suck the Republicans. Like they're literally one step removed from doing the classic bit of just like, you love the Republicans, Democrats love Republicans, what the hell's going on? That is where we're at right now. That is where we're at. And the reason why that is where we're at is because these guys do not want to do anything. They don't want to do anything. I think that there's a select few Democrats at the tippy top that basically got their notes from Wall Street, who was just like, don't do this, because if you push and refuse to vote on the cloture and this bill goes through and the government is or the bill doesn't go through and the government is not funded and there's a government shutdown, there's going to be too much instability and the market will dip dramatically. You have to protect the market. You don't care about protecting the people. We don't care about protecting the people. We are Wall Street. We care about protecting the market. We care about protecting corporate interests and corporate profits. You have to do what is right. And I think that is precisely what happened here. And that's the reason why Chuck Schumer and all these other people are making the worst excuses I have ever heard in my entire life. Yesterday, we reacted to it live. where Chuck Schumer talked to Chris Hayes. And I want to go back to that video and rewatch it because it was unacceptable. It was insane. It was some of the worst defenses I've ever seen. Okay. Jeff Stein from WAPO says, putting aside for a second whether the shutdown is correct or incorrect call for Dems, just worth noting that Trump will get more legal power over the federal budget under the CR, at least per numerous appropriators / appropriations experts I've interviewed. Senator Pat Murray from Washington published a list of dozens of examples of programs that the House-passed measure could allow Trump to change without Congress. For instance, Trump would have near absolute authority over specific Army Corps of Engineers projects, more authority to pick which healthcare or mental health programs to implement, broad discretion over Centers for Disease Control and Prevention programs per Murray's office. Congress is supposed to maintain the power of the purse, and this is a handoff from Congress to the Trump administration, the administration that has already been doing a de facto government shutdown for the past 2 months that it's been in power. Understand something. Chuck Schumer claims that the Trump administration would love a government shutdown. They've been doing it already. This is your opportunity to try and claw back some of their power, some of their encroachment, and you are not using it. It is completely unacceptable. This man is basically consolidating all of the power directly in the hands of the executive, and you are allowing it to happen. It is over, okay? It is so over. What good are these institutions if you can't use them to create institutional hurdles, okay? I'd probably oppose a continuing resolution if, for some extremely misguided reason, you appointed me to be a Democrat senator. Both sides would get blamed for a shutdown, but it would put Trump in the awkward position of having to defend government services he's trying to dismantle. Also, voters might notice that there's still an increasing amount of chaos even when the government opens back up. Trump probably gets blamed for that both by low info voters, because people usually blame the POTUS, by high info ones because they're correct on the merits. Exactly. Nate Silver is right. I can't believe I'm saying this, but Nate Silver is 100% correct. This is exactly what I've been saying. An unimaginably rare Nate Silver W here. You're making a big mess and doing many things that are completely unacceptable. It just seems like Occam's razor here too. We're the party of responsible government doesn't really work if it requires you to endorse irresponsible things. There is always two sides to the negotiation, whether we're talking about labor disputes and a work stoppage, a strike, or whether we're talking about the government shutdown. There's two sides to the story. It's not just going to be people shifting the finger of blame at the Democrats entirely. Also, even if they did, you can't be lower. You're in the mud already. Part of the reason why they could most likely successfully blame the Democratic Party for this, if the shutdown were to go through, is because the Democrats haven't been actively talking about the dangerous agenda of Donald Trump in terms of dismantling the administrative state. They have had 2 months of refusing to directly address some of the most consequential aspects of Trump's defunding. Not just USAID, mind you, okay? USAID funding is not the most significant aspect of Trump's executive orders and his agenda, okay? It's not. It's the mass layoffs of federal administrative workers. That is effectively a government shutdown. That is a permanent government shutdown. He's basically moving the needle in the direction of a permanent government shutdown by slowly but surely tuning up the dials. And if your entire role here is to basically sit around, and expect people to come up with the real villains on their own, you're delusional. Okay, you are delusional. You're wrong. People need to understand who's at fault here. Asked about Schumer's decision to vote for the Republican bill, Democratic Congressman Jared Moskowitz told Axios, Amy Schumer was great in the movie Trainwreck, lol. I hate these people, man. I hate them so much. They suck so bad. They suck so much dick and ass, dude. Holy shit, they are so awful. Like, this is such a callous... Anyway, he's probably... You know what? Maybe I'm being too hard on him. I wish he would perhaps come out and boldly declare if he truly believes that what Chuck Schumer is doing is wrong. I hope that he would come out and say it instead of just like taking this weird attitude. Amy Schumer was great in the movie Trainwreck is basically, I think what he's trying to say is like, oh, this is a real train wreck. Maybe that's what he's trying to say. I think the reason why he takes this cowardly stance as a joke is because he doesn't want to actively be like, yeah, Chuck Schumer, what the fuck are you doing? It's just cowardly. Yeah. I'm a veteran. You don't give a fuck about me. Anger at Doge and the GOP is boiling over. Representative Chuck Edwards just got scorched at his own town hall for his support over massive cuts. Yes. People are angry. People are angry. Okay? Democratic politicians are not responsive to the anger that people are exhibiting, the anger that people are experiencing, the righteous anger coming from everyone who's like, don't let the government get cut by these assholes. I don't want to lose my government job permanently. I'm scared that planes are going to keep falling out of the sky. We can't, in this moment of crisis, we can't let a autistic billionaire with no knowledge of how the government is supposed to run go in there and put his dick through every regulatory agency at a time when planes are falling out of the goddamn sky. What the are we doing? What are we doing? There's a avian flu that's ripping through the poultry stock that exists, that's made egg prices impossible to purchase. It's hard to find eggs to begin with. Planes are falling out of the goddamn sky. And these guys are basically doing everything in their power to just make things worse. They're firing people at NOAA and the NWS. Are you joking? They're talking about no longer funding education. They wanted to abolish the Department of Education. They're pulling grants away from institutes of higher learning. Publicly funded NIH grants are the only effective way that America can maintain a competitive placement in the global marketplace in terms of finding new cures, and these guys are cutting it. Why? Because it's woke and gay. What are we doing? What the fuck are we doing? They are like picking apart the government like a bunch of vultures, okay? The carcass of the government like a bunch of vultures. They're just like taking away the scraps. What remains of these institutions that are supposed to offer you some semblance of stability as things worsen day in and day out. Oh, it's over. Chuck Schumer is done. He should never recover from this. His political career should be done going forward. Schumer broke two prime rules of politics for leaders. First, don't defy our own troops. More importantly, when you have the votes, as Schumer did, don't capitulate without getting something in return. It is crazy. It is crazy. Yeah, Weimar Andy is right. You are a collaborator at this point, okay? You are a collaborator. For 3 days, Senate Democrats privately debated whether to support a House-passed continuing resolution keeping the government funded through September 30th or block it with a filibuster, thus letting the government temporarily shut down. At midweek, it looked as if Chuck Schumer had devised a death plan, proposed an alternative resolution to keep the government open for 30 days and send that back to the Republican House. That's what he was supposed to do. That way, if the House did not go along, the shutdown would be on the Republicans. On Wednesday, Schumer emerged from 2 days of meetings to declare that the caucus was unified against the Republicans' 6-month resolution and supporting the 30-day plan instead. But it turned out that he was simply floating the idea to keep Senate progressives happy. He was confident that the more centrist Democrats would reject the idea and vote cloture to end a filibuster and end the 6-month continuing resolution to President Trump. In a more sinister maneuver, he would allow Republicans to end debate on their CR in exchange for a vote on the 30-day resolution, a vote that would fail, leaving Republicans to pass their bill by majority vote. Hold on. Okay. Oh, has the vote happened? It's about to. Anyway, let's continue. I just want to do an up close and personal shot on this one. I do have to move here, though, in order for the camera to be centered here. So why did Chuck Schumer sabotage his own plan? This is on the American Prospect. Taking him at his word, always risky, he was worried that one way or another, the Democrats would take most of the blame for the shutdown. He was also worried that any shutdown would give Trump even more power to decide which government departments to keep in permanent shutdown once the government reopened, as if that's not already happening. It is already happening. I also want to show you the Chris Hayes interview that Chuck Schumer gave last night. We watched it live. We watched it in real time. I could not comprehend how Chuck Schumer would behave in such a ridiculous manner. He launched one of the worst defenses that I have ever seen from a professional politician.
Democrats are split over how they will vote on the Republican plan to keep the government funded, though on Elon Musk and Donald Trump's terms. Trump's budget director, and this is key, is already reportedly preparing to ignore the spending appropriated in the bill. Some Democrats have said they will not support the plan, even if it means a government shutdown. But Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer of New York says he will support the vote basically to get the bill in a position to pass and to keep the government open.
That's what the vote for cloture is. It's a cowardly way to vote yes without actively voting yes. That's what Chuck Schumer is going for, which is weird because who is this for at that point? Like, if you're getting a yes vote on the cloture to pass it through and a no vote on the bill itself, you're doing that to say, well, we stood proudly against this bill, even though we stood idly by and allowed it to pass, right? But that is for process nerds. And process nerds obviously look at the situation and go, what the do you mean? You're voting yes. If you vote for cloture, you're voting yes. It doesn't matter if you end up voting no at the end. You're allowing it to pass through because there's enough votes. Incredible. So it's basically for no one. Like, there's not a single person here that is on board with this idea, with the ways in which Chuck Schumer is trying to go through with this. Like, there's no defense of what he's doing.
For sure, the Republican bill is a terrible option. It is not a clean CR. It is deeply partisan. It doesn't address far too many of this country's needs. But I believe allowing Donald Trump to take even much more power via a government shutdown is a far worse option.
And Senator Chuck Schumer joins me now. Senator, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. Yeah, he's like, oh, this is the worst bill of all time, and that's why we are going to not do anything. We're just going to let it pass. Now, Chuck Schumer's responses that you're going to hear here to Chris Hayes are so laughable, so ridiculous that even Chris Hayes is like directly laughing in his face. Okay,
pleasure. Let's just start on this. I think there are a lot of people watching this right now who are confused about this decision, or upset by it. So just just give me your logic, particularly on this sort of on the one hand, on the other. What is the cost you see to the constitutional order of a shutdown that isn't already being done now?
It's a dramatic cost. Here's why, Chris. Under a shutdown, it is the executive branch, in this case Trump, Musk, Doge, and Vogt, who's head of the OMB, who we all know are authoritarians, vicious, nasty, who would have sole control over what is funded and what isn't.
He's doing the meme. He's like, these guys are Nazis, and that's why we're just going to lay on the train tracks and allow them to roll us over. These guys are real authoritarian fascists, and that's why we're going to give them everything that they want, and there's nothing that anyone can do about it. It's like, what are you doing? You're undermining your own position. You have a position here. The position is these guys are horrifying monsters that want to destroy the administrative state. Why are you letting it happen? You are letting it happen.
They get to determine what is a, quote, essential service. And they will just cut to smithereens, far greater than in the CR bill, which is a lousy bill, far greater than that, what could be funded and what couldn't. And there's no recourse. You can't go to court.
Is he wrong, though, about them taking advantage during a shutdown? No, but it doesn't matter because the bill, once passed, is giving legal authority to Trump to do permanent shutdowns. Because what is a shutdown? When a government shuts down, they go on furlough, okay? So they have to cut back on payments for certain administrative agency employees, okay? The bill itself directly refuses to fund some of these agencies and gives Trump awesome power over the administrative state. Now it's congressional power that has been handed off to him. Do you understand? So technically, if you don't fight against this CR, then you're giving him a permanent shutdown capability. It's ridiculous. It's completely unacceptable. A shutdown, at least while causing some harm in the interim, would force the Republicans to concede on all of the things that the Democrats want them to not do, because they would end up owning the shutdown. The administration always will own the shutdown. Okay? This is a perfect opportunity for the Democrats to say, hey, you don't like the shutdown? This is what we were trying to avert. This is the crisis that we wanted to stop. This is, if left to their own devices, this is the future that the Republican Party is envisioning. Okay? It's not a lose-lose situation. It's a lose everything while you hand it off to them versus lose some in the interim and eventually use this as an opportunity to showcase how damaging furloughing federal government agencies look like to every single person in America. So no, it's not a lose-lose situation. It's a which situation do you lose less moment here. And Chuck Schumer is choosing to hand off this W without a fight. It is completely unacceptable. You're not recognizing what he's saying. If the shutdown happens, the executive takes the power of the purse. Do you think I don't know what he's trying to say? One codifies the power of the purse by way of the CR. The other is a short-term power of the purse for the executive agency, where Americans immediately blame the Republican Party for these failures, and you can draw out those failures and remind people that this is precisely what their agenda looks like. What are you saying? Are you guys not listening to a single thing that's coming out of my mouth here? What is happening? Republicans can blame Democrats no matter what, and they will always blame Democrats no matter what, but it does not matter, because in this circumstance, a competent opposition party is supposed to say, hey, this furlough, this shutdown is entirely in the hands of the Republican administration. And guess what? All they need to do is come to the table with us and bargain with us. All they need to do is protect the federal government. That's all we wanted out of this, because if passed, this bill is going to codify permanent cuts to the federal government, which is in effect a permanent shutdown that is now legal. Okay? Permanent furlough that is now legal. That's the goal for the Republican Party.
This is a decision totally in the executive branch. And so it would be devastating. Why is it that Elon Musk and Donald Trump want a government shutdown? So they can take control of the government and do their vicious, horrible things. They could cut half the government.
Yeah, that's so crazy. Oh, the Republicans really want the shutdown. That is a terrible argument. You want to know why that's a terrible argument? Because Donald Trump has actively said that he is going to primary Thomas Massie for voting against it. Donald Trump has also said he's open to talking to the Democrats in order to avert a shutdown. Donald Trump has also openly said that anyone that doesn't vote for this CR bill that they wrote is directly at odds with the American public. He wants this bill to go through. Why would he not want the bill to go through? What are you talking about? The notion that the Trump administration actually actively is in support of a continuing resolution to not go through is idiotic. Okay? It is idiotic. You're just, it doesn't make any sense. It's not correct. And it's also incorrect in the most laughable ways possible, because anyone with 3 brain cells can recognize that, yes, of course the Trump admin wants this CR to go through, so they don't have to actually fight at all.
They could tell employees you're not essential and never bring them back, permanently firing them. It's a disaster. And in a few weeks, if there was a shutdown, everyone would be complaining and howling. Why did they eliminate SNAP? Why did they cut so much of Medicaid? But they could do all that on their own. That's the problem. There is no check on them with a shutdown. That's not.
Yeah. Trump definitely doesn't want the bill to pass so they can force a shutdown. That's why this morning he congratulated Chuck Schumer for being a ginormous coward. It's real 5D chess from Donald Trump. It's not even, you don't even have to be brilliant, because these guys constantly, every step of the way, are desperate to lose to the dumbest people you've ever seen, the most incompetent people you've ever seen. They have no smoke. They have no interest whatsoever in fighting back. And therefore, they allow some of the dumbest people you have ever encountered in your whole life to ruin the skeleton of what remains of the federal government, dude. They're tanking it. They're tanking it. They're just throwing. It's crazy.
To say this CR bill is a good bill, it isn't. It didn't have any safeguards in it. But it would be much, much worse to have a shutdown. And my job, Chris, as leader, is to see things a little bit ahead down the road and see how horrible this would be and alert people to it.
So I want to sort of present two arguments on the other side. One of them is that it was quite, and I hear you on this. This is not an easy call. I want to be clear. I mean, I don't think it is, but, you know, the AFG union, which is the large.
Back to remind you that Hasan is a loser and benefits from political conflict. Yes, dude. You're right. Not your favorite content creators who don't know anything and will never, not your favorite content creators who don't know what a cloture vote is or how process works. Yes, I'm benefiting tremendously from, instead of doing the same drama slop over and over again, talking about annoying procedural hurdles that the Democrats have placed upon themselves or their lack of interest in utilizing the annoying procedural hurdles against the administration that is desperately trying to claw all semblance of political power away from the federal regulatory agencies and directly consolidate them in the hands of the executive and undermine the administrative state piece by piece. This is some real political conflict that's real fun for the average person. It's just not the shit that gets clipped out. Stupid.
Largest union representing federal workers. They won a big victory today in federal court about those probationary employees who were fired.
Yeah, the union representing federal workers wants the Democrats to fight back. Here's what the issue is. Are you ready? Chuck Schumer foolishly thought that the centrist Democrats would vote for the cloture quietly, and he miscalculated because he is the worst leader of all time. Nancy Pelosi, whom I have tremendous amounts of disagreements with, was a vicious whip, okay? She knew every aspect of her caucus. She knew how to whip votes. Chuck Schumer is a horribly incompetent dumbass and miscalculated. And when the centrist Democrats in the Senate that he thought would quietly abide and quietly vote for the cloture said, no, we're not going to do that, him and Kirsten Gillibrand lost their minds. Okay? Nancy Pelosi has also come out against Chuck Schumer. Nancy Pelosi urges senators to oppose key spending bill, risking shutdown. Okay? Understand something here. This is yet another, like, Joe Biden has to drop out moment where basically the old hat centrist Democrats, establishment Democrats, the likes of David Dayen, myself, Sam Cedar, AOC, and like centrist Democrats all around the country and the entirety of the base are aligned against like a handful of Democrats who just want to keep things going. It is crazy. It does not make any sense. It is yet another moment for people to recognize that the goal here is to cave, concede, capitulate, allow the Republicans to do whatever they want, okay? With the hopes that there will be some semblance of stability in the short term and then inevitable collapse in the long term that will be seen as the Republican Party's incompetence, and that will allow the Democrats to not really do much and still win a marginal victory over the Republicans. It is incredibly short term. This thinking is unimaginably short term.
So on social media, you've been urging people to...
Is short-term thinking, is
So
foolish,
on social media,
it's
you've been
stupid.
urging people...
It is going to cause so much harm, especially when the Republicans will just not go away. They're just not going to go away. There's no assurances that Trump is just not going to run again. You know what I mean? Like even simple shit like that. And why should they? If this is the leader of the opposition on the Democratic Party side, why should they?